What's going on, Sports Talk Indy? This is the craziest day of NFL free agency that I've ever witnessed to the start of what should be the most legendary offseason of all time. This is by far the most signings. Literally, as we're speaking, there are tweet notifications coming across. The Giants 1 minute ago just agreed to terms with Devin Singletary. Superstars have new teams. What does this mean for the Colts? And where should the Colts continue going? The last video I posted, Xavier McKinney was expected to sign with the Colts, and that didn't happen. He ended up signing with the Packers. And so there's a lot going on. But before free agency even started, the Colts made two very key moves that really weren't, the urgency level wasn't there, but I think they were doing it to clear out and expect what they can spend in the cap as far as cap goes. So the first one that they made was at the very beginning of the morning, about 7 a.m. this morning. The Colts agreed to terms with Zaire Franklin on a 3-year contract extension that will lock him in until 2028. They'll lock him until 2028. And this is a really, really good move for the Colts because they want to keep their leading tackler. Zaire Franklin had a franchise record in single-season tackles with 159 tackles last season. That is absolutely unheard of. That is insane numbers. He was snubbed from the Pro Bowl, but we all know. We know. Zaire Franklin deserved that All-Pro and Pro Bowl vote. He also managed to have 6 pass deflections, which I think is a really big deal, and he had 1.5 sacks last year. This is a good deal for both the Colts and for Franklin. They get him on roughly a $10.5 million per year deal. It's a cheap cap hit, but also you're getting a all-star Pro Bowl level linebacker to center your linebacker team around. I think that this has been a staple of how the Colts do their offense or do their defense, But they always have one guy that they want to kind of revolve everything around. On the defensive line, they have DeForest Buckner. On the linebackers, they had Darius Shaquille Leonard, and then they released him because I think Zaire's leadership is there. And the dude literally has a podcast where he just hosts Colts players. So I think that his leadership is there. I think this is a good move for both the Colts and for Zaire Franklin, and it keeps him here for the next 3 years. He's going to be 30 following that, so I think for the Colts, they want to see what does his regression look like, if any, or does he continue progressing into this legendary career status? I think it's a good deal. So that was at 7 a.m. At around 11 a.m., the Colts made another signing, and they signed Michael Pittman Jr. to a 3-year, $70 million contract. This is, I think, a great deal, again, for both teams because you get a all-star wide receiver who's a leader and a staple to the team. A lot of people, for ill or for worse, a lot of people expected him to also be holding out when it came to contract negotiations, just like Jonathan Taylor did. And Michael Pittman didn't. He saw that there was value in not holding out and in holding true to this and to playing out his contract. He said, and I quote, "I signed a deal, I'm going to play the deal." I think he's a man of honor, but it also keeps him rooted in the Colts organization. Michael Pittman has been incredibly consistent. He and Zaire Franklin both have played 95% of their available game time plays, which just means that they are tough. They're not injury prone. They're consistent as all get out, and I think this is a good deal for the Colts. They got him on that franchise tag, but the Colts don't use the franchise tag very often. They like to play their players and get them locked into long-term deals. They usually try and extend guys well before the point in this. So what does this mean? This means that the Colts, unfortunately, did not go and yet get the safety. Xavier McKinney is now off the board. Kevin Byard is now off the board. He went to the Bears. And so there's a lot of people that we expected to go to the Colts or at least get meetings from the Colts that are not there. But this is not unusual, and I don't think it's time to panic just yet. This is very, very common for Chris Ballard. Chris Ballard doesn't make these giant deals day of, or these like giant superstar players, but instead he likes to get to know the person, gauge them based on their personality. He doesn't hire these like these guys that need a lot, these high maintenance guys. He likes to get guys that are consistent. You sign them, you know what you're getting, and so on and so forth. Even when they signed Stephon Gilmore, which was kind of like a bigger name at the time, especially, they signed him to a 2-year deal. Even when they signed him, he still met with the Colts for 6 hours before being signed. So I don't think it's time to panic just yet. I do think the Colts are still going to make some moves. Whether or not that's going to be today or whether that's going to be, as the offseason goes, I can't imagine that they're going to get a guy like Justin Simmons, but I do think they're going to get a guy maybe like C.J. Gardner-Johnson or someone that's a little bit more, not your like high A-level guys that are going to gauge that superstardom, but more of like your B-level guys that you can get more of. Ballard's not one to spend $50 million on one player. He likes to spend $50 million on 5 players and give them each and get several guys to build around. But the Colts lastly did make one more move. They made this roughly about an hour ago, so right about 3 p.m. The Colts, they did bring back their edge rusher, Taquon Lewis, to a, what was that deal? I don't know that the details of the deal are out. Let me check this now. They signed key pass rusher, Taquon Lewis. The details of the deal are not yet out. It will be, it won't be a 1-year deal, but it will be a 2-year deal. So initially they reported a 1-year deal, and that has now been changed to be a 2-year deal. Taquon Lewis is a solid, we're not going to call him a D lineman. Let's call him a B lineman. He's not going to be your starter, but when your starters are out or on third downs or whatever, they like to throw in these guys like Taquon Lewis. I think this is a good re-signing for the Colts. They're probably not going to spend a lot on him because he's not been, this like legendary guy. But I do think that this is going to be a good signing for the Colts. So the Colts have so far made 3 deals in free agency. 2 of them weren't even in free agency. They were contract extensions. But I think this is good, and I think it shows that the Colts are a great organization to play for because they don't make you play on a franchise tag, but instead give you the opportunity to make a more sustainable. And, I mean, Michael Pittman got $46 million guaranteed over 3 years. It's great money. That's great wide receiver money, and I think he's earned it. So I'm glad for Michael Pittman. I'm glad for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm glad for Zaire Franklin. I'm glad for the Indianapolis Colts. I will probably continue to make more videos as things come out. So be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell because I will be posting as soon as deals come out for the Indianapolis Colts.